Hi everyone, Materim here again with another narrative battle report. So in his Bretonnia versus the Ogre Kingdoms, we'll be picking up from where the story left off at the end of our last game, which was battle report number 9, for those of you that have been following along at home. Um, Now, my Bretonian opponent is Lord Alphoneous, who is participating in the Bretonian Crusade that's being held by Anthony from the Sustainable Center. So he's using this for that. We're also using this as a practice game for the tournament we're going to in about a week and a half. So it's 3,000 points. And there's a couple of extra little just scenario victory conditions that I'll explain when we get into the game itself. But let's go into the narrative and pick up from where we left off. Tok'ron Facecrusher sat back in his throne and gave a satisfied belch. The feast celebrating their defeat of the Bretonnian forces was the best one in recent memory. He was pleased to see the morale of his clan high and the tales of their prowess flowing as freely as the stolen ale they were drinking. Many were nights like this, and that is what has kept Tok'ron as both a feared and popular leader of his tribe. Tok'ron looked up as a shadow fell over him. He saw the twisted smile of his slaughtermaster, Chog the Toothy, leering at him. Tok'ron rose so that he would not be looking up at the bloated slaughtermaster. "What is it, Chog?" he growled. The slaughtermaster's smile widened, showing the rows of razor-sharp teeth that gave him his name. "The maw is well pleased, mighty tyrant." "It should be," Tok'ron replied. "Our victory over the horsemen was well earned." "Indeed, and the pleasure of the maw brings with it a gift. I have been shown one who can aid us in finding the pearl the Bretonnians seek." "Oh?" Tok'ron raised an eyebrow. The potential value of such information could lead the Whitetooth to even more wealth and conquest. "There is a woman, a seeress, that lives in a cave on the eastern slopes of these mountains. It is said that her visions are of great clarity. She should be able to tell us of this pearl, given the right incentive." Tok'ron knew there was no greater incentive than the might of his clan. But he knew the eastern slopes of these mountains, and they were claimed by the Empire. If he did proceed on this course, he could end up fighting the Bretonnians or the Empire. Or, if he was very lucky, both. "Make preparations to break camp at dawn, Chog. We will move swiftly to this cavern and persuade this human woman to aid the Whitetooth." "As you command, mighty tyrant." Alright, here's our board. Starting at the top left, you have a blessed bulwark there, a normal building under that, and a mysterious forest to the south of that. On the southern edge, there's a normal hill. In the bottom right corner, you have a settlement of order with 2 buildings, a normal fence, and an elven waystone. Above that, you have a mysterious forest. Above that is a normal tower. The light green and blue square directly in front of my opponent is Chimerian quicksand. And then that cave-looking thing in the center is the Cirrus's cave. It is acting as the one of the victory conditions for the narrative part of this story. The Cirrus is in there, and whoever controls it, occupies it, or is the closest unit in it at the end of the game wins an extra 1,000 victory points. We also have another victory condition that comes from the tournament we're practicing from, and it's kind of a modified blood and glory thing. First person to break their opponent's fortitude gets 1,000 victory points. Second person to break the fortitude gets 500 victory points. So it's definitely a lot of way to get some bonus victory points. Unfortunately, my opponent had forgotten that we were doing this sort of Watchtower-esque thing, and, well, you'll see the mistake he made in his army generation. Not that Watchtower is an easy thing for Bretonnia to win, even in the best case scenario. So let's go ahead and get into deployment. Okay, starting on the left, behind the Blessed Bulwark, my opponent has 2 trebuchets. In front of them is a unit of 6 mounted yeomen. The Knight Lance that you see on the right is a unit of Grail Knights. There are 12 of them in there. They have the Banner of Swiftness, and they are joined by a Paladin on Warhorse, obviously, with the Lance of Artois, so killing blow and charging, and the Virtue of the Joust, so he gets to reroll misses with his lance. Okay, continuing on, he has another unit of 6 mounted yeomen. Then he has a unit of Knights of the Realm. They have, or there's 8 of them there, and they're joined by the Lord Alphoneous, who has the Sword of Swift Slaying, the Armor of Agaluf, the Dragonbane Gem, and the Virtue of Heroism for killing blow. Next to that is another unit of Realm Knights. There are 10 of them there, and he has his BSB, who has the Grommel Great Helm and the Potion of Foolhardiness, as well as a Damsel of the Lady, who is a level 2 Lore of Beasts with a Dispel Scroll. Then here he has his Knights Errant Lance. He has 10 of them in there. They have the Errantry banner and are joined by a Prophetess of the Lady, who is a level 4 caster of the Lore of Life. She has the Silver Mirror, which is a second Dispel Scroll, basically, and the Crown of Command. And that lone model right next to there is a lone Paladin on Warhorse, with the Sword of Striking and the Virtue of Noble Disdain. And then hiding over there behind the tower, we have another unit of 6 mounted yeomen, and a unit of 3 Pegasus Knights with just musician and champion, it looks like. And Ogre deployment. On my left, I start with 2 Mournfang Cavalry with a Bellower and Standard Bearer. Then I have a unit of 2 Saber Tusks and a Stonehorn. And up on the hill, I have my Iron Blaster, and protecting those at the front of the hill is a unit of 3 Yetis with a Greyback. The unit to the right there is my unit of Iron Guts, 9 men strong with full command. The unit has the Dragonhide banner, and joining that unit is Tok'ron Face Crusher, my Tyrant. And this time he's kitted out a little differently. I gave him the Ogre Blade, the Enchanted Shield, and the Talisman of Preservation. Next to him is my Battle Standard Bearer, Gat the Old. Gat has the Rune Maw and the big name Death Cheater, so he gets a 1 use where a model has to reroll successful to wounds against him. Then I have a unit of 8 Ogres with full command, and joining them is Torga Blackstew, my level 2 Butcher, Lord the Great Maw. She's carrying a Dispel Scroll and the Warrior's Bane magic weapon. Next to that is my unit of 8 Lead Belchers with a Bellower, and joining them is Chog the Toothy, my level 4 Slaughtermaster to the Lore of Heavens. He has the Sword of Striking, the Charms Shield, Grut's Sickle, and a Talisman of Endurance. And then right next to the building I have 2 more Saber Tusks for additional chaff. And because the Bretonnians obviously wanted to pray, I get first turn. And I'm sorry about the blurry picture on this. I had one of my charges starting and it just didn't come out right, so this is as close as I could get. What ended up happening here is the 2 mounted yeoman groups vanguarded up, which actually put them close enough to be charged by the Yetis and the Stonehorn. So I started off charging the first one with the Yetis. He fled, and that's the unit that's basically back where it started from, facing the other direction. And I successfully redirected into the other one. It fled and rolled far enough to hit his Grail Knights, bounce through them, and off the table turn 1. So then I moved up the Stonehorn and positioned my Sabertusk there where you can see them. The forest ended up being I think it's a Blood Forest, the one where if you cast spells on anything in it, it hits them in the face. And then I sent my Mournfang Cavalry racing up the side because I want and need to destroy those 2 trebuchets in the back. My ultimate plan here in general was just to make sure, he's got a lot of lances, and I really wanted to make sure that he wasn't able to concentrate more than one of them on any one of my units. Because realistically, it takes 2, maybe even 3 lances to destroy one of these ogre blocks that I've got. And if I can keep him from being able to get that, I'm not all that concerned. Alright, and you see here, I've got my ogre unit just moving forward to claim the cave there. I figure they're the more defensive of the 2 units. They can hold out against anything he's got to throw, particularly since, as I alluded to earlier, my opponent forgot we were doing this and ended up doing a purely cavalry army, so he's literally got nothing that can hold the tower, so he's just got to focus on killing me. And then I move the Iron Guts up so they can come in and get involved in the throwdown that's possibly going to happen here in the center. Now, what I'm hoping will happen with my Saber Tusk's position the way they are, is I'm hoping he'll charge them with the Grail Knights to get rid of the chaff, and that'll turn him to present a side to the Stonehorn. And if he actually overruns, it would bring him basically right where I need him. Yeah, I might eat a charge in the front of the Iron Guts if he overruns well, but then the Stonehorn and the Yetis are going to just come crashing into his flank, and I should be able to handle a group of Grail Knights with that. And then over here, I position my other Saber Tusks in front of the Errant Knights to do the exact same thing. With the Errantry Banner, he's unlikely to be able to resist charging them. So if he does, and hits and goes that way, he's going to present a flank to the Lead Belchers. And I'm really trying to capitalize here on the fact that as a range unit, most people forget that Lead Belchers are still ogres, and that's still 8 ogres plus a Slaughtermaster. They can do a lot of damage in close combat. So if he presents me that flank, I'm sure as hell going to take it. So during Magic Phase, he Dispel Scrolls my Comet of Cassandora that I was going to put basically right in the center of his Realm Knights. So I went straight to shooting. I ended up bouncing a cannonball through his Grail Knights and taking out 3 of them off of the back. And the Lead Belchers ended up taking 2 of the Mounted Yeomen away, which, given sort of where they were in the cover, wasn't terrible, I guess. So we go to bottom of turn 1, and the Grail Knights take the bait and charge in the face of the Saber Tusks. And pretty much the kiddies are going bye-bye here, but they're 42 points of sacrificial to get that Grail unit into a weak position, so I'm more than happy to make that trade. And as predicted, the same thing happened with the Errant Knights on the other flank. Then he did manage to rally the Yeomen and moves them right up in the middle of everything, ideally to stop me from supporting the other units that are coming. And then he's bringing his one Knight of the Realm unit around one side of the building and the other one around the other side. I think he was expecting that larger Knight of the Realm unit to be able to get in on the Lead Belchers and just destroy them. And over here, the Pegasus Knights just come around the side of the tower, so they'll be able to get moving towards the center of the board as soon as possible. So magic was a wash. My opponent only rolled 3 dice for magic, so he didn't get anything off. And just a little spoiler, he's going to roll 3 dice for magic for the next 3 turns. So Bretonnia magic doesn't really play a huge part in this game. And his shooting was a wash. He didn't hit anything. And so we go straight into close combat. As predicted, he stomped a mud hole in the kiddies and overran. But because he had moved his Mounted Yeomen where they are, he didn't get the charge on the ogres. He had to basically stop there. Now, I think this is really the biggest tactical mistake my opponent makes the whole game. With his Yeomen there was really no reason for him to overrun. I was bottled up. I was going to have to deal with them. I could have overrun if I destroyed them, and would have likely given him the ability to make a charge the next turn. But I think he wanted everything close so that he could make sure he got the charges, and I think he just moved everything too close. And over on this side, my Sabertusk actually went first and killed one of the Knights of the Knights Errant. But he only managed to kill one back, so obviously I broke in combat because Sabertusks are leadership 4. but he didn't catch up to me. So he's right there, basically perfectly where I want him, because that's just a flank charge into the side by my lead belchers. And again, I think he just forgot about him. He didn't think I was going to charge in with him. And again, probably made a mistake here in pursuing, because even in best case scenario, if he had caught him, he would have been up 42 points. So yeah, this is not going to be good. So, start of turn 2, the Mournfang successfully complete their charge into the side of the trebuchet. The Stonehorn successfully completes its charge into the flank of the Grail Knights. And in a horrifically blurry picture, the Iron Guts and the Yetis succeed charges into the front of the mounted yeoman there. And last but not least, the Lead Belchers succeed their flank charge into the side of the Knight Errants. Altogether, it is about to be a painful turn for Bretonnia. In other movement, the level 2 Butcher and her unit of Ogres make it into the Cirrus's Cave. And I failed to rally the lone Sabertusk, and he runs a little further. So during Magic, he uses his Silver Mirror, his second Dispel Scroll, to stop me from bubbling +1 strength to that whole mess of combats there in the center. So we go straight into shooting. My cannonball bounces a little short and just destroys the section of wall in front of his first trebuchet. So I really should have taken more pictures here, but it was late, and I'm on painkillers for having a wisdom tooth removed, so I wasn't really all there. But this shows the end result. What ended up happening is I handled the fight with the Mounted Yeomen and the Yetis and the Ogres first. Obviously, we destroyed the Mounted Yeomen, and both the Yetis and the Iron Guts carried over into the front of the Grail Knights. And between that and the Stonehorn impact hits to the side, they got beat. I think there was 2 knights left by the end of it, and we ran them down. I was hoping to overrun far enough so that I would get out of the front arc of the Knights of the Realm, but as you can see, that didn't happen. The tail end of my Iron Gut unit is in perfect charge range for them. And combat on the other side has the Lead Belchers break the Knight Errant unit. They flee through their Mounted Yeomen, who actually succeed their panic check and hold, and my pursuit sends the Lead Belchers right into the face of the Mounted Yeoman. And finally, the Mournfang Cavalry destroy one trebuchet and overrun directly into the other one. So, bottom of turn 2 starts with the Knights of the Realm with the Bretonnian Lord in it charging into the flank of my Iron Guts. And in what is probably the best charge for the Bretonnians in the game, he charged the single Paladin, the unit of Peg Knights, and his other Knights of the Realm unit with his BSB in it, all into the Lead Belchers there. So I'm in trouble here. I don't think I'm going to survive this at all. Best hope is maybe I can get Chog down there in a challenge with somebody and block off some of the hits, but he brought way more pain than he needed to, and they're going to be gone. And here you see that he did succeed in rallying the Errant Knights and turning them around. I guess it's not so scary once you see half of your army jump on the guys who almost killed you. So they're going to try and get back in this fight, although since they broke, they don't have the Blessing of the Lady anymore, so that could be problematic. So Magic was a wash. He had no shooting left, so we go to straight to close combat. The Mournfang destroy the other trebuchet, and that's where they end up. For some stupid reason, I didn't take a picture of the center battle with his lord, but Tok'ron issued a challenge, the Lord accepted, or vice versa. But either way, they didn't really do much to each other, and they held. So that was pretty much a wash at this point. As far as the right flank goes, the Bretonnians handed the Lead Belchers their fat asses. It was just too much to deal with. Chog answered a challenge from the Paladin there, and they kind of bounced off each other. But with so many attacks, so much static combat res, the lead belchers just broke, and they got ran down. All I managed to kill were 3 of the 5 remaining mounted yeomen, and they pursued and ran down. The ogres ran off the board, so you'll see where that army mover is there. That's where he's going to come back on next time. And the Pegasus Knights and the Knights of the Realm just reform. So we go to top of turn 3, and for the first time ever in my entirety of playing Ogres, I managed to successfully rally a fleeing Sabertusk. So I just had to take a moment to immortalize that because it was awesome. And you see here after my movement, at the end of last combat, I did manage to reform so that the Knights were no longer my flank. And I just had to do reforms to get everybody pointed in the right direction at this point, because I was way off to the side facing the wrong direction, so the Stonehorn, the Yetis, and the Mournfang just weren't involved in the fight at this point. And the Ogres are still holding the Cirrus's Cavern, with no problems there. So magic was a wash. During shooting, I ended up taking out one more Knight of the Realm with a cannonball. I believe. Maybe it was more than that. It was a few. Ultimately, it didn't matter. They didn't break. They're still coming for me. So magic is a wash again. And we go straight to close combat. In close combat, Tok'ran kills the Bretonnian Lord Alphoneous in a challenge. And I knock 2 more knights off of the Knights of the Realm, and he does not do any wounds to me. However, he rolls very well and manages to hold. And so bottom of 3, the Pegasus Knights come over here. He was trying to make it so that the Mournfang couldn't get into the flank of the Knights of the Realm, but didn't quite have enough movement. For me, it doesn't much matter. I think the Iron Guts are going to destroy those Knights of the Realm pretty easy without any help. So the way I look at it, he just helped me by bringing the Mournfang a closer charge. And the rest of his movement, you see his army is just coming as fast as they can to the aid of the knights that are just being overwhelmed by ogre power. And you see the 2 yeomen finally show back up on that side of the board. And in close combat, the Iron Guts kill the unit of Knights of the Realm to a man, which at this point was pretty expected, as they didn't have their lord, they weren't charging, and I've got just an awful lot of strength 6 hits, plus what Tok'ran can do. So they weren't long for this world. So, start of Ogre turn 4, the Mournfang charging the Pegasi who flee. Pretty expected. Everybody else just kind of repositions because with the cave in the way, I don't have any good charge lanes. Start of my magic phase, I Torga Blacks to irresistibly force casts Bone Crusher, takes out another knight or 2. But miscasts on herself with the small template. So she takes a wound, I kill one of the ogres and put a wound on another one. And then my cannon shoots one of the Pegasus Knights and kills one of them. So, bottom of turn 4, the remaining Knights of the Realm slam into the front of the Mournfang Cavalry. Really, just knowing the 2 units, we're not expecting a whole lot here. I think my opponent is just getting frustrated at how much the game is going to me, and wants a chance to get some sort of bloody vengeance, and the Mournfang were the first opportunity. And the Pegasus Knights do not rally and continue to flee towards the edge of the board. And the rest of his army just moves up to where you see him in this picture. He's just trying to get everybody into some sort of combat at this point. So, turn 4 magic, he finally manages to get 6 dice in his power pool, and manages to successfully cast Dwellers Below on the ogres in the cave. However, I roll very well, and he only kills 2 of the ogres. So the Mournfang do a decent number of wounds on the knights. They end up breaking. The Mournfang pursue and end up right in the flank of his lone paladin that's there next to the building. So top of Ogre 5, I have no charges to declare. So what this shows is I actually bounce a cannonball right through the front rank of his remaining knights errant and kill all of them. It just went straight through, and he just did not roll a single ward save. So that whole unit's gone. The only thing left there is his level 4 prophetess, which is killed by the harpoon launcher that is being carried on the back of the Stonehorn, so she's gone. And during combat, the Mournfang are more than capable of handling the lone paladin and kill him where he stands. This point, my opponent concedes the game because he's got 2 fleeing Pegasus Knights and 2 mounted yeomen versus pretty much the entire might of my army. And here is just a shot of how the board looks at the very end of the game. You can see, like I said, he's only got 2 mounted yeomen, 2 Pegasus Knights, and I've pretty much got everything. All I lost was the 1 unit of lead belchers and my saber tusks out of 1 unit. Tok'ran Face Crusher stood upon a rocky spire, watching the remnants of the broken Bretonnian force flee into the distance. He knew they were headed to their base camp in the north, but he did not care. He was the victor, and the spoils had once again gone to the Whitetooth tribe. He turned around to look at his captive. The seeress did not appear to be much, even by human standards. Old and frail, he knew she would not resist him. "Where is the pearl the Bretonnians seek?" The old woman looked up at the tyrant, a small spark of pride still burning in her eyes. "I will tell you nothing, monster." Tok'ran snarled and grabbed the woman by the neck. Effortlessly he lifted her and dangled her from the edge of the rocky spire. "You will tell me, human, or you will splatter upon the rocks below." The seeress looked into the tyrant's eyes, and her vision showed her many things contained within them. But this day, mercy was not one of them. Very well. Tok'ran set her back down. The ancient pearl of Musalin had been lost for centuries. Taken from the Bretonnians by the skull-splitter tribe of ogres, it was recovered by the questing knight Guy de Chillon, who took it to a grail chapel in the north at the headwaters of the river Bourdain. It remains there still. Tok'ran smiled. "And what value does this pearl have? Is it enchanted?" "No, it is but a pearl, small and insignificant to one such as you. Its true value is to the Lord Alphoneous, who sees it as his only chance to regain the honor in the eyes of his people." "Then it does hold value." Tok'ran turned and called to his standard-bearer. "Gat, send word back to the Bretonnian base camp. Tell them I know where their precious pearl is, and that information will be theirs in exchange for my weight in gold." The older ogre nodded, and Tok'ran turned back to the seeress. "Return to your cave, woman. You have done as I have asked, and so the Whitetooth will leave you in peace. But know that if you tell others what you have told me, I shall feed you to my saber tusks." The seeress nodded weakly, and watched as the mighty tyrant descended the mountains, and returned to his tribe. Alright, so obvious, major crushing victory for the ogres in this one. I thought this was a pretty amazing game. I don't think I've ever had anything go this right for the Whitetooth Clan, and this badly for the Bretonnians, I don't think. Ultimately, I think it comes down to that first tactical error he made. I ended up baiting him with the saber tusks, and he took it, and it gave all the momentum for me. Compound that with the fact that my opponent didn't roll any higher than 3 for his Winds of Magic for the entire game, pretty much. Really didn't let him get any momentum back, and it allowed me to just kind of slice him up and deal with him as I needed to. All in all, it was a strong game. I had fun. I know my opponent really didn't, and I feel bad about that. But he did say he learned some things, so he's learning, and that's good. And frankly, with Bretonnia, that's about all you can ask for. Is they're a very difficult army to play, but he's enjoying them, and he likes the flavor and the fluff of the army, so he's going to keep sticking it out. As far as what I learned for the army itself, I think I'm actually going to change up the lore that Chog the Toothy has to the lore of beasts and change around his kit a little bit. Mainly because I don't really like him hanging out with the lead belchers, kind of all off on his own that way. Um, so we'll see how that works. I might change up and make him actually have a little bit more combat kit and put him more towards the center of the army, but we'll see. So all in all, good game. Allowed the narrative to go forth. And the cool thing about the next battle report I'll be putting up right after this one is our other player in our group who plays Skaven and Warriors of Chaos right now wants to get in on the narrative reports. So he's actually, the next battle report I'll do is a narrative battle with him and the Bretonnian player. Basically, a raid on the base camp by the Warriors of Chaos. So that was a much more even and entertaining game. So that'll be up soon. Other than that, please, if you liked what you saw, subscribe, like, leave any comments. I definitely keep up with the comments, so if you see anything you like, you didn't like, something we screwed up, definitely let me know, and we'll chat about it, because I love doing this, love doing these battle reports, and love hearing people's feedback. So again, everyone, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.